Welcome to another new episode of Fly with Maggie. This time I bring you a very interesting person from Canada. Her name is Martha. There is a mysterious world out there that humans don't quite comprehend. And here today, I would like to ask Martha about her own experience with animals, with energies, with past lives, and a lot of things that you may not even heard about. It's a mind-blowing subject, and I'm very glad that Martha traveled so far away across the Pacific Ocean to Shanghai. Martha does a lot of things, but I'd like to ask more about exactly what does she help people and what does she help animals too.
I work with the whole body. It's energy type work. I also do craniosacral therapy that I add into that. I do electroacupuncture. There's a lot of things I do out of my healing center in Canada.
I heard that you can communicate with animals.
Yes, I can.
Sounds very crazy. Like, how can a human being communicate with an animal?
We all have the ability to communicate with animals. Animals are live beings. They just don't have the English human language that we do. But if you see a flock of birds and they all fly exactly the same, how does that happen? Right? They're communicating with each other. A school of fish, a herd of elephants, right? They communicate. So if we tap into that frequency, that energy of animal communication, we can pick up information from them. So what I do is pick up that information and relate it. Maybe if I'm working with domestic animals, I relate it to the owner. Often the animal is, animals, especially dogs, take on a lot from their owners. And that's their job, is what they feel. Wow. So often if their owner is suffering with something, they will take it from them and often experience it themselves.
Like, animal has a very strong connection with the owner.
Yes, domestic animals, yes.
Especially dogs and cats.
Yes, cats also, they're just very psychic. Cats are. They don't, they're a little more snobbier. Often when a cat will lay on you and it purrs, sometimes that purr actually means it's calibrating the frequency of that part of your body to help heal it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they are natural healers.
Yeah, yes, cats. They are. Actually, all animals are. I work with a lot of wild animals as well. I receive information through my subtle senses. So we have our physical sense of sight, but the subtle sense is that what we call clairvoyance, where people see from their inner eye, where it's not the physical eye that sees something. So when you imagine something, you're actually using your subtle sense of sight. Or when somebody hears something, but it's not really a noise outside in the physical world, but they hear maybe a voice inside. Or all of a sudden they get information, it feels like they hear it. That's the subtle sense of hearing, that's clairaudience. So all of our senses, our smelling, our tasting, and our touch is all subtle senses as well. So people care so much about our pets. And when it's time for them to leave this earth, it's very hard if they're unwell. The owners have a hard time. Do I take them to the vet and help them along? It's quite a emotional time for the owners. But the animals understand the cycle of life. They really do. They don't get attached to it. But sometimes they care so much about the owner that they won't transition like they would naturally in the wild. So, for instance, I worked with a family that called me about their dog to work with it because they didn't know if they should have it euthanized. So I went to the house and the dog was very, very, very ill. And when I connected, the mother was sitting beside, the human mother was sitting beside the dog and crying and crying and crying. And the dog told me, through sending me pictures and through energy, told me that he was ready to go, but he was worried about the owner because she was so upset. So he was hanging on, but he really didn't want to. So then I asked him to give me some sort of sign that I could tell her. And he said to me, I want to be buried under the picnic table in the field.
Wow.
And I thought, what? I didn't know there, I'd never been there before. I didn't know if they had a field or even if they had a picnic table. So when I told her this, she jumped up and she ran and got her husband and started crying really hard and said, come with me, and took me to the window. And there in the field behind their house was a picnic table in the middle of the field. And she said to me, this is where our other dog that was his best friend died 2 years ago, and he's buried under that picnic table. Very amazing, because then she felt good to let him go. She knew he wanted to go. So the next day they took him in and had him euthanized and buried him beside the other dog. So it allowed the animal to transition, but also healed the owners. And they were very grateful, because maybe if they did it, they would have, did I do the right thing? Did I not? So I have horses at home. I love animals. So I work with all different kinds of animals. So I also go to the wild. So I've worked with orangutans in Borneo. And sometimes I get information from the wild ones, but I did spend some time working at a quarantine and care center for 300 to 400 orangutans. And we did some work that made some unbelievable changes in the animals. A lot of times when human beings have sessions, they might say, I don't know if that worked. I don't feel anything. We let our head get in the way. But when I work with animals, they will shift. When you help to shift something for them, perhaps a dog will yawn or stretch or go get a drink right at that moment. I've had horses where they will lay down right away and roll because they feel the energy shift through their body. So it's very interesting to work with the animals, and they receive messages and shift very quickly.
I've told you've been working with a lot of orphanage as well. You help people to get through their pains and sufferings.
Yeah.
When did you start to do that? When did you realize that's your life mission? That's one of your passion to help people?
I think that was born into me. I come from a family of 9 children. Yes, 8 girls and 1 boy. And we would often take in foster children, sometimes 5 at a time. As a young child, I would want to help them because a lot of them had some problems and I felt bad for them. So even when I was a young child, some of the very little children that we got would call me mummy, and I was just a child. But I always wanted to help them. And then when I got older, I had several different jobs, and then I worked for a fire and ambulance department because I thought I could help people there. And then I went to emergency operator, like you have 119 here. I worked there, but it was too stressful in that environment, and I didn't feel like I was helping people well enough. And I decided to take this course in therapy called Body Talk. That's when I started to do this work. When I was able to go into Indonesia and work with some of the children in orphanages, that was so powerful for me. So even before I went, when my youngest daughter moved out of the house, I decided to plan a trip to ride a horse across Canada to raise money for sick children. So I did that, and it took me 3.5 months. And I raised a lot of money for sick children, and that made me feel really good. And then I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep going. It was before that I was starting to do this energy work and just saw how powerful it was. So I just kept taking courses and taking some of my courses over again so I could get better and better at it. And then my intuitive self kicked in. But I believe that everybody can do this work. So now I teach it because I want to share with people, because I would love to see more people helping themselves and helping others.
Does that mean that everybody has that innate ability to be able to communicate with animals, to be able to receive information from animals?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Everybody can do it. It's something that we are born with. But as soon as we're born,
What happened afterwards?
well, then we're told how we're to behave and who we should be and all these limits. But when we're born, we're open. We're the most conscious we are. We're perfect conscious human beings at that point. And then just living and society and our parents and our teachers and our religious leaders and friends, our community, we all start, you can't act like this, you have to do that, and then we start realizing that if we act, even at a young age, if we act like this, mommy will give us this. But if we want that from daddy, we have to act a different way, right?
So you think that the systems have blocked our limitations?
Yes.
Now we need to set us free.
Yes. You can communicate with anything that has a vibration, anything that has a life force. Plants. A lot of people communicate with plants, even if it's just playing music. Some people will talk to their plants and then they find that their plants actually grow better. When people bless their food or say grace and give thanks, that's a high energy frequency that gratitude holds. So then it actually changes the water molecules in the food or in the plant or in the animal or in the human being. We're mostly water.
Exactly.
So then it changes it and gives it a higher vibration, which is a healthy vibration.
What you teach now is called
Quantum Consciousness Activator. So it's about really connecting with universal consciousness and realizing that everything, it's full of possibilities. It's what we call an ocean of potentiality. So if we really desire something that is in alignment with us, which is in alignment with the good, we can receive it. Everybody can. It seems.
Can you give me an example?
Well, a lot of people will manifest. People want to manifest. So you think about it. If you really obsess about it and you think about it often and you feel that strong desire and drive to have it and then feel as if you have it, the universe will give that to you. It's the law of attraction. We say what you focus on expands. So if you are focusing on negativity, you will get more of that. Our reality is what we put out there. So what we put out there, the universe, it's like a magnet, it gives that to you. It's attracting that same vibration. So when people raise their vibration, the world starts to change, becomes better.
Amazing.
So it even happens on the physical body. If somebody has, say their liver isn't functioning well, it's lost its primal vibration. Its vibration has gotten low. We need to introduce a high vibration to raise it so that the low vibration in the liver can rise up. And it helps to recalibrate the liver, but we have to make sure that that's a stable high vibration. Thoughts, love, gratitude, appreciation has all a very, very high vibration. So the more we can feel that and feel positive and loving towards each other, the higher we will raise our vibration, the more positive things we attract. But a lot of people just all of a sudden things happen and they're more intuitive. That means they're more in touch with their subtle senses. When we can communicate even within ourselves and get to know ourselves more at our core, because in each one of our cells is the hologram of the universe. We are all connected. We are all one. The more we understand that, the more peaceful we tend to be and happier we tend to be living our life.